Hi, Kayla.
Hi, Chelsea. Welcome to another episode of Modern Agent. Oh my gosh, I almost said Modern Agent Social Club.
I was about to say hi, Blitz. He comes
I
strolling
know.
in.
As soon as we start recording, he's like, "Oh, don't mind if I do." I think it's because I wear headphones and he doesn't hear you, so he just hears me talking, and he's probably thinking I'm talking to him.
That's so funny. I never even thought of that. That's
Yeah,
probably exactly what it is.
he's a
Well,
little
welcome,
full of
Blitz.
himself. So it is, what is it now? April something. And spring is finally here, and I'm just so pumped. All winter long, I was in like soup mode with cooking. I was constantly making, like, I don't know, I called it like soup Sunday, and I would like make a new soup. And my kids now are like, please, anything but soup. And I'm like, I'm sick of it too. So we've been like switching things up a little bit. But last night, well, this is like nothing to brag about, but I made baked spaghetti instead of regular spaghetti.
Yum.
And it was so funny because my kids like were so excited, and they got it, and then it looked different. So then they were like, "Oh no, do we not like it?" And then they ate so much of it, but they're like such picky eaters. It's
Do you put
ridiculous.
cottage cheese in your baked spaghetti?
How do I get more leads?
How do I stand out in my market?
Is it unprofessional to talk about my kids on Instagram?
Should I have one account or two?
Do I really need a personal brand as a real estate agent?
We are the Modern Agent Marketing Girls. We are two agents turned marketing experts who believe you can become the go-to real estate girl in your market, all because you are you. I'm Chelsea Peterson, founder and CEO of Modern Agent Social Club.
And I'm Kayla Fox, Modern Agent's content creator. Let us be your guides as we talk about what it means to market your real estate business the modern way.
So refill your favorite beverage, open your notes app, and get ready to build a business and a brand you're obsessed with. Let's go.
Okay, so I do not. Funny story about cottage cheese. I don't like cottage cheese. My husband doesn't either. My husband's the pickiest eater that there is, which has like been passed down to our children, which is fantastic for me. But cottage cheese like tastes good in things, right? I would never want like just a spoonful of it, or I wouldn't even really want to put it on toast. But if it's like mixed into like a lasagna or something, it's not like you taste cottage cheese. But I have learned in my almost 14 years of marriage that if my husband knows that an ingredient is in the food, he'll just decide he doesn't like it before he ever tries it. So I had started like hiding ingredients. So I would like put cream cheese in something, and then I would throw the wrappers away, and then he would be like, "That's really good." And if he asks me what's in it, I'll just tell him, "You don't want to know," because it'll like ruin it for you. So I just quit telling them what's in things and just tell them to try it. Do you like cottage cheese? Do you put it in stuff?
I love cottage cheese, and so does Henry. And Henry's picky, so I am shocked that he likes cottage cheese. But yeah, I love it. It got trending on TikTok last year. I've always liked it, but it's like became popular, and now I see recipes with cottage cheese like in everything.
Yeah.
Like the cheese gal makes some cottage cheese with chili crisp and cucumbers and tomatoes, and it looks amazing. Like I find them and I save them, and I'll send them to my husband and be like, "Let's make this week." So
Yeah.
it's all about the combination at the end of the day.
100%. And that's why I've just decided, like, I have to make that choice that, like, I'm not going to let everybody know what this is. Otherwise, they will think it's gross or whatever. Because I'm the same way. I bet I would like all those things that you just said if it was, like, mixed in. But that's kind of what we're talking about today. But before we get into, like, mixing in and, like, the actual, like, recipes of everything with marketing and branding, I wanted to share a little bit of love to some of our listeners and members. I got a message the other day from Taylor, and she said, "I wanted to take a moment and thank you. I recently found your podcast. It's been exactly what I've needed. This year, I've made a commitment to take Instagram more seriously for lead generation, and your episodes have honestly been so helpful. I felt a lot more inspired and clear on how to show up, and it means a lot to have someone sharing real, helpful advice in an approachable way. So grateful for all the work you put in it." Doesn't that just like fill your cup?
I love that. I'm so happy, Taylor. What's funny, yesterday we were traveling home from a trip with my in-laws, and Mark was telling his parents, because like my father-in-law said, "Do people like email you all the time or like communicate with you?" And I said, "Mostly on social media, but yes, like I get a lot of like personal communication with our members and listeners." And Mark said, "You should see the messages her and Kayla get. Like they get messages all the time, like you've changed my life or whatever." And I'm like, I think not that we take it for granted, but we do have a lot of messages. And I was just thinking we should really organize all these screenshots somewhere safe. But it's wild to think that this kind of marketing isn't just like a fluffy thing. And it's just this reminder to me that it really is so powerful that it can ultimately change someone's life. And and that sounds so extreme and ridiculous in a way, or like I mean, I was just re-recording a welcome video for the member site, and I like said like, not to be dramatic, but like this can change your life. And
Yeah.
it really truly can. So it just like when you hear someone else talk about it for you, like my husband talking to my in-laws, I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like it's wild. So
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. Because when you do things like this, and let's just face it, a lot of agents are putting a lot of time into their marketing, but a lot of them aren't getting the results. But if you're able to filter things through this like modern agent perspective and actually get results, think about how much time you're saving. Think about how much more clients you're reaching. Think about how many more closings you get. Like, it does. It is life changing. And it might feel silly to say that, like, hey, this real idea will change your life, but it's kind of true.
it's ultimately the compound effect, right? It's
Yes.
taking these strategies, taking these things, and then piling them on top of each other over and over and over and over. And that's when those dramatic results occur.
100%. Yeah, it's the combination, which is what we're going to talk about today. Like the combination of when you mix these certain things into your content, it makes it so much more powerful. I actually got a message from someone else, and I won't share her name, but it asked, like, does anyone have like podcast ideas or anything they want us to cover? But she had just said that her broker is just old school. And she's convinced that sharing anything online that isn't solely real estate information is quote unquote unprofessional and everything else is fluff. She said, obviously, I disagree, but it's hard when someone who's kind of your boss keeps bringing it up because she's been very adamant. And so I thought basically this whole episode is addressing her and addressing that whole topic, because people that don't understand the bigger picture would look at this and be like, this is all fluffy. But we know that
You
it's
don't need
not.
to do that.
Yes, exactly.
It reminds me of, I don't remember if I've told this story, but I briefly worked at a brokerage where I met with the like sales director or whatever. And I was telling her my marketing plans to do webinars and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, you don't need to do that. You can just send out these postcards and there's like a free ticket to Noah's Ark, which is a water park. And I was like, what is that going to do? Like, why would I do that? And I had like alarm bells going off in my head, and I very shortly left that office. But I have one more to share with the podcast listeners, a big win from one of our members. She said, well, Chelsea Peterson and Kayla told me to make a podcast, so I made a podcast. Okay, she didn't tell me to make one. Marketing Girls technically told everyone to, but I took it personally. And she started a local podcast, and I'm so excited.
That's amazing. I can't wait to listen in because I feel like she'll do such a good job. I think we had 2 members actually start one. I think someone else had shared too.
You're right.
That
so that
she
was
going to start one too.
Jessica, and then Kim. I took a leap and made a podcast where I'll be featuring local content, things I like, and talking about real estate. Love it. That's so fun.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole episode on this and like break down everything to think about and like how to like maximize your efforts with that at some point in time. So stay tuned for that, but I love it.
Okay, let's get into the recipe for your content. So whoever sent that message, share this with your broker.
Yes.
Feel free to share this episode with them.
I want to ask you, because you've been at this for longer than I have, how did you come up with this recipe, this formula, this content cocktail that we call it?
It was a little bit accidental, and kind of like looking way back to the OG days of social media and posting on Facebook and checking into locations and sharing what you're doing. Like, I started doing that in my real estate business, and I would just showed a house with blah, 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 or I'd take a picture of something funny that happened, or I would share what I'm doing today. Almost treated my Facebook personal page kind of like Instagram stories, but not to the extent. I wasn't posting 5 times a day, obviously. This was like a few times a week maybe. But instead of posting like a real estate graphic on my personal page, I would post something real estate related, but not like, look at me, I can help you sell your house, but more like, hey, here's what I'm up to, and this is why it's funny, or this is why it's entertaining, or this is why I'm sharing it, you know, in this like kind of entertaining style way. And it just started working. And I kind of just did it more out of like, it started at this local coffee shop, and I would always check in. And you would check in to get on their Wi-Fi. And then when I checked in, I would like add something like a picture, or I'd add like I'm meeting buyers here, or grabbing coffees on my way to show houses in this neighborhood. And like all of a sudden I started getting like messages and referrals from people through Facebook, like more family and friend referrals. And I'm like, there's something to this. And I had a business Facebook page at the time and everything, which we all know is kind of like a collects dust over in the corner a little bit. But I still stayed very connected on my personal page in this more authentic behind the scenes style way. And then people started asking me, like other agents, like, well, like how do you know what to do on social media? So I would kind of start telling them. And then as I like got even further and like started Modern Agent and everything else, I kept finding myself repeating the exact same advice over and over and over. Like they'd be like, well, what do I share? And I would all like some of the things like, well, document what you're doing, share behind the scenes of your business, share the local spots, share what you do on the weekend, share the showing that you're at, share the house blog. And I'm like, okay, there's 3 things that keep coming up over and over and over. It's always real estate related because you want to be known as the agent, but there's always a personal spin of whether it's like the coffee I'm drinking or it's the pink that I have on or like whatever that part of it is. And then it's always local, whether I'm at a local spot or I'm talking about a neighborhood or I'm talking about the city I'm showing houses in or where I went to the broker's open or whatever. It always had those 3 ingredients. So I was like, this is basically the formula that I use for everything that started really, getting more attention with my content, and how can I package it up and share it. So we call it the Modern Agent Content Cocktail, but really you can call it whatever you want. This is your formula for posting, your formula for creating content, your formula for making sure that a piece of content isn't just going to get scrolled right by or ignored, and we'll kind of dig into the details of this and get nitty gritty on it. But that's how it was born.
And all of this is shared, especially more even now than probably what you did in the beginning, because I feel like social media has changed so much. But all of it is basically shared through the lens of like behind the scenes and your perspective. Because I always go back to, and like we talked about this too, like if someone can Google something and find it out, they're not going to look to your page or look to your account or sign up for your email newsletter to learn about that thing. Like they're just going to Google it. But they can't Google, like, what is Chelsea's go-to order at Roots Coffee Bar? Like, they can't do that. And it might sound fluffy, like this broker had said to this girl, but it's not fluffy because you're staying top of mind. When they go somewhere, they thought of you once again. You want to stay top of mind. That's such a battle, especially in the world of noise pollution that we're getting, whether we're on our phones scrolling or ads that we're seeing and information that we're receiving all the time. Like, we have to fight so hard to stay top of mind.
And that's like when you get into real estate, that's what your brokers push over and over and over. They want you to write letters. They want you to call 3 people from your sphere every day and casually say, who do you know looking to buy or sell? And that just wasn't for me. And maybe for some people it is. This podcast, I feel like, is more for the ones that are like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm going to be of service, or I'm going to come from a place of value, or I'm going to whatever. And it can't all be about you, because no one is going to care about your business if they don't even care about you first. And I'm sitting here trying to find this testimonial, but I remember the gist of it. A really long time member, Taylor, wrote a testimonial and said, my broker said that I have done through Modern Agent what it takes real estate agents years and years and years to do, and that's to get my sphere to know that I sell real estate and to refer me business. And I was like, that's crazy. And this happened for her very quickly through learning this content formula. Because I remember I did a free challenge in, I believe it was 2020, like June of 2020, to be very specific. It was a 5-day challenge, and on one of the days it was about the personality infusion, of course. And she put up on her story, like, watching The Bachelor. Like, her feed had previously been like listings, real estate, graphics, here's how to buy or sell, here's how to work with me, the basics. And she put up in her stories that day something like, watching The Bachelor, is anyone else watching, blah, blah, blah. And she said she had conversations with people she has not talked to in 10 plus years. Yeah. And that just changed things. It was this snap that happened. And she started figuring out okay, the conversions are going to happen through the conversations I'm having. And the conversations aren't going to be about real estate. Because if you think about it, most people that are buying or selling, when the time comes that they need to buy or sell, you're going to need to be their person way before that moment happens that they think about it. Like, you want to be that top of mind person so that if they have a question prior, that you're the one they're coming to. You already had that seed planted. And that's why the things that may appear fluffy to a broker or to some agents, that's why it's not fluffy. Because if you're not top of mind to be asked the questions or to be thought of or to be their agent for life before that, you're not going to be the one they use. And that's going to hurt the brokerage.
And that's why, maybe we should just get into what the actual formula is. So we talked first about real estate, right? Like, that's the first ingredient, which maybe that sounds dumb to say that, because it's like, well, of course. But I do think some agents lean so heavy on personal brand that they aren't talking about real estate. And then maybe they're staying top of mind, but people forget that that's what they do. So let's address real estate first. What kind of things can people do in like their real estate content to use this formula, but also to make their content and whatever they're putting out there more memorable and more fun to consume?
The first thing I would start with is bringing whatever you're talking about, having it be from your perspective, which we've talked about in other episodes. But when you kind of share it as your experience, your recommendation, just like when you said, no one knows what your order at Roots is, or like at your local coffee shop. No one knows how you list a house. No one knows what it's like to meet with you for a listing appointment. No one knows what it's like with you when you're looking at houses. Like, what is it like? Are you the agent who's super bubbly and like bringing donuts for the little kids and like giving them ideas of how, like all the hidden potential? Or are you more serious? Are you more matter of fact? Are you more get it done? Like, people are going to gravitate towards different personalities for a reason. And that's kind of the purpose of why we have this like come along with me feel. And that's like where that real estate angle is really headed.
If you get nothing else from this episode, write that one thing down, write down what you just said, and then ask yourself that question every time you go to post something. Like, is this my take on this situation? Is this my thoughts, my perspective, what I would do in this situation? And if it's not, it's easy to tweak something to make it, like, instead of saying like 3 things to do before you list your house this spring, you can say like the 3 things I tell every one of my sellers to do. Like, that little switch makes people be like, well, what does she say? Like, I saw on Google they said this, but what does she have to say?
So I just sent you a piece of content, Kayla, recently, and I was like, okay, like, this is good. Like, it was a real estate post, like something educational, and the agent was in the video. They were in the reel, and then there was like text on top, and I was like, okay, this is good, but like, it's missing something. Why do I see this? And I can instantly tell it's like from a membership, not ours,
Right?
From a membership. And what was your response?
Well, if I'm remembering correctly, wasn't it the personality?
Yes.
Is that what it was? Like, it was like, oh man, like, this is good. But if she would have just like started it off by like, all right, besties, this is what we think. And like, remember when I said this or whatever, but they're not reading from a script. They're not saying like, well, in today's market, like, this is what's happening. But they're like, you guys will never guess what just happened. They just add their splash of personality. So some of it could even be like, are you mixing a drink as you are getting ready to share this? Or are you in the car drop-off line? Or are you on a walk with your stroller or whatever? Like, when you're doing those little things, it just gives you that little bit. I actually just saw a reel from someone, I think she was a marketer, but it caught my attention because she had her laptop and she was sitting in her bathtub. And I think that she called it something like bathtub marketing check-ins or something. But she was like, it's just you, me, and my bathtub, and this is what we're talking about today. And I was like, it's that simple, people. Like,
that's a personality piece that I think is missing, like that exact thing. And it doesn't have to be something extreme. It can be the way you talk, or the fact that your voice is in it, or the color you're wearing, or your backdrop, your area. I feel like sometimes people get into these like 2 copy paste formats, and like, yes, the content it's good. It's like a good piece of advice, but it is totally stripped of your personality. Even if they can see you, like, that sometimes doesn't even cut it, because it almost comes across as robotic or surface level, where it's like, okay, anyone could stand in the video and type on their laptop while the words go on the screen. And yes, sometimes that is a B-roll clip you can use or whatever. And not that everything has to be overthought and overly produced by any means. It just means those little teeny snippets that make it feel like you, because the goal is like, yes, we want to stay top of mind, but we want people to see like, if I worked with her, this is what it's going to feel like.
Yep.
And to be like the go-to real estate girl, like, hands down, like, you're their pick. You're their one that they're going to hire no matter what. It's not going to come down to like, oh, well, the guy down the street said he'd only charge me 4%. Like, that's not going to be a conversation.
Yep.
It's going to be like, how do I work with you? What do I need to do?
Okay, real estate content. I know people still ask, like, well, how much is too much? Like, am I sharing about real estate too much? Should I share about it just once a week? Should I share about it 3 times a week? Like, but like, what's so cool about this formula, because I know it's hard as we haven't broken down everything yet, but with this formula, you can basically share about it every single day, and it's not going to feel like too much because it's mixed with other things. It's kind of like the cottage cheese thing, right? I could put cottage cheese on everyone's plate in my family and watch them reject it over and over again, or I could mix it in with other things and serve it to them, and they'll eat it and they won't even think about it. Like, they won't even realize like that's what they're eating, that's what they've been served. So I think it's the same thing with real estate. Like, if you're sharing behind the scenes of what happened at your showing, or if you're sharing like the story behind the closing, if you're sharing even like a market update as you're sitting in your bathtub with your laptop and, you know, sipping whatever, like they're not even going to realize that you're reminding them that you're an agent.
You can almost, because you're going to share more stories than you are pieces of content. It's just the way that the two platforms are.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost like sharing more real estate in your stories, because if you probably are more face to cam, or you are documenting wherever you are, or you're showing the behind the scenes of the house you're at, or you know, whatever the real estate topic is. But it's like an easy way to continuously bring it in without it feeling so billboard sales vibe like, because when it's like a post, it almost could feel like kind of billboardy, right? Like,
Right.
here's the real estate post, check. Like,
Right.
and what is that? I don't know, but let's get into the ingredients, because I think that's going to really help bring it all together for people. So the glass is the behind the scenes. That's that's what's holding this all together. There's no drink without the behind the scenes approach.
Yes.
So the first ingredient is real estate. And to kind of just put this right out there, the real estate, it's like you're sprinkling it in. Like we say, it's like if you just dumped out a whole jar of sprinkles on the top of a cake, it wouldn't taste good. Like that spot of the cake wouldn't taste good. But if you sprinkle them out throughout the cake, or like all over, they would taste great, right? But like, so you're sprinkling the real estate content in. And some posts are going to be more real estate heavy. Some posts are going to be more personality heavy. Like the point is, you're going to have it sprinkled regardless of what that particular post is about, because I see people going both ways. People do go very heavy on real estate, where the content becomes so like real estate heavy that it's not probably relevant to a lot of the people consuming it, because most people aren't moving today. But I see the opposite too, where their account looks like behind the scenes of their just personal camera roll, and I can't even tell that they're an agent. And that's where that real estate sprinkling becomes really important, because you could take like 5 different agents, and you could go like have one person who's like way heavier on the real estate but sprinkles in other ingredients we're about to talk about. You could have another agent who's really heavy on the personal but sprinkles in the real estate, and they could be just as effective. So there's not like a right or a wrong way, and that's why I love this formula or recipe or cocktail so much, because you can approach it the way that makes sense for you and your like what do you want your brand to be, and you can form that with this cocktail, and it's going to be effective regardless of like which way you go.
100%. And you think about the whole sprinkle thing. I mean, we can say sprinkles, we can say confetti, like anything, but like there's such thing as too much, right? Like I think about like my daughters, they like love glitter. So they get like glitter nail polish. Well, all of a sudden they have like this whole thing dumped on the countertop. And I'm like, yeah, but if you would take that and just barely sprinkle it on your fingernails, then you have a little bit of a shimmer. And like, it's mesmerizing. It's like magnetized. Even if it's not your style, like it draws your eye in. That's the same idea. Like when you sprinkle the real estate content in amongst everything else, even if sprinkles aren't your thing, it's still going to catch your eye. It's still going to be colorful. It's still going to, and even if like, you don't love the way that they taste or whatever, it's not going to feel like too much, and you're still going to enjoy what they're serving. So that's what I love about the whole like sprinkle mentality. And again, like what you said, like you're also going to be sprinkling in, what's the next one? Personality. So what's your take? Like how would you suggest people start to incorporate their personality in their content?
I think the easiest way to do this is like the method that I would start with is start in your stories. It's just easier, because when you try to go right for a piece of content, you're going to overthink it, and you're going to be like, well, I don't know. And you're not going to do it. You're going to probably default to like the real estate only, or default to just the picture of your kids at the park, which whatever. So if you can start with your stories, and I want you to take a picture of something to do with your morning routine. This is like the strategy I always start with. Because like everyone has a different way they start their day. Like Kayla, what is the first thing you did this morning?
Well, my son Levi runs a very tight ship around here, and he insists that everybody sits down and watches ESPN for a few minutes so that everyone's caught up in the world of sports. So yeah, the kids will all sit down on the couch while I usually get like some kind of breakfast started and get their lunches going. So yeah, like documenting those kind of things. To me, it is true. Like, to me, I'm like, that's so boring. Like, there's nothing happening. But to you, you're probably like, I would love to see that. I'd love to be.
Well, yeah, I'm like, I didn't even know that, and I thought I would know your answer. So that's like a point proven. And okay, your morning. It doesn't have to be your morning though. Kayla chooses, which we've talked about before. You choose not to do that because it's just a short window with your family. You don't want cameras in their face. They would get annoyed, whatever. So you don't choose to do that. So this is just painting an example. So you could go nighttime, you could go midday, whatever. So my morning started with Henry waking, like, well, I got up first. I'm taking a shower. He comes in, slams the door open because he can't like open a door normal. It just like hits into the wall. And then we come out in the living room. He instantly goes to his playroom. He's so happy to be home from our vacation and play with all his toys again. And I make my green juice or my green powder stuff that I've been drinking every day. And I sit in there and we play, just like we have a very slow initial morning routine because he's not in school yet. And it's just like a slow morning. And that's what we do first. And then we go in his room and get dressed and change his diaper and like make breakfast. And it's a very just chill way to start the day. But again, everyone is going to be a little bit different. So this is like a really easy way to just pull your personality through without trying so hard. And it could be like beverage related. It could be like, Kayla, do you have like a go-to thing you drink in the morning or a glass you use? Or
I mean, honestly, not necessarily. I love crunchy ice. I always have my little Pebble ice machine. But yeah, I'm the same way. Like like there's nothing more satisfying than like taking your little scoop and putting it in your glass and like hearing the clank. It just like it's gonna be a good morning.
So yours more than a drink is ice.
Ice, baby.
I love it. So if you can start in your stories, take a picture. It could be maybe your non-negotiable is like you read in bed as part of your morning routine before you get out of the bed, or you have coffee in your bed, or maybe there's a cozy spot that you choose. Take a picture of it, put it in your stories and say what you have going on today. Just like drinking this coffee before I head to the office, drinking this before I drop the kids off at school, or reading this before I wake the kids up, or it doesn't matter. You have to pick the thing you're doing and just literally say it. Like there is no creating here. That's what's so beautiful about this. And then what I want you to do is just like throughout your day, and this is like an easy way that can kind of work to just get you going, is like set an alarm for like every other hour. And every other hour, like think about what am I doing right now? And take a picture and put it on your stories, like document it. You'll start to notice, like maybe you're in your car driving to meet a client. So what's on your front seat? What's playing on your radio? What podcasts are you listening to? What's in your cup holder? What's in your trunk? Where do you stop to get a drink or a coffee or lunch? Like it's going to help you think things and bring them to life that you wouldn't have normally thought to do. And this is kind of how I like fell into this accidental way of sharing on my Facebook way back in the day, is I just kind of started documenting the things. And now you can do this in your stories, and it's going to help bring things to light that maybe you wouldn't have thought to share. So if you do this for a few days in a row, just to kind of get yourself in that habit.
By the way, really good episodes to go back to listen on this, which we go into a lot of it, is episode 4. It's listen to this if you think your life is too boring to be Instagram content. And number 6, your life is not aesthetic, but you want your brand to be. Those are like gold episodes. Because here, the other thing I'm thinking is this. It's easy to go through and document those things, but what if you're like looking back through your camera roll and you're like, I don't want to post any of this. Like none of this excites me. I think that actually is a good thing, because then you can look at it and be like, okay, like what is missing? Like what is missing from my camera roll versus like the pictures that I see on dupe photos or on Pinterest or wherever that like feel like more my style. And I've learned for myself, a lot of it tends to be, first of all, the lighting. The lighting is everything. But then also for me, like it's all color. Like if it doesn't look feminine, then like it doesn't feel like me. And so it's not even necessarily the same color every time. It's just like a splash of color. Being aware of that, then I started thinking, you know what? Like if the next time I have to buy a notebook, I'm going to get one that's pink. Or the next time that I, need to grab a purse or whatever, like I'm going to pick one that's purple. Like something that just felt more like myself. So then when I'm incorporating it in with my photos, or when I'm taking a picture of my front seat or whatever, there is a splash that I'm like, ooh, that feels like me. Like that feels on brand to me. That might sound fluffy, but if having those elements in your photos and in your videos makes you feel more confident and makes you show up more, then it's not fluffy, because you're like doing yourself and your audience a favor by like showing up.
People also like beautiful things. That's why we like Pinterest. That's why we save certain things on Instagram. So it's not that you need perfect photos, but if you can be semi-mindful of like the lighting, like Kayla said in a photo, or the colors, or just like pick a filter on your Instagram stories that makes things a little brighter, or like however you want it to feel. Maybe for you, more moody. Like I know, I follow accounts that have a very moody vibe, like Sivan, Ayla, and I love like the vibe. It's not really for me, but I like consuming it. I'm going to share this in the show notes. It's our I have a Pinterest board that I combined and saved tons of photo inspo for Instagram stories. It's called the Instagram Story Starter Pack. It's part of our membership starter pack mini course. And I'm going to link the starter pack Pinterest board so it has a lot of inspo for Instagram stories. So like as I'm kind of just scrolling through, there's like a Stanley and a coffee, like an iced latte in the cup holder of someone's car as one of the examples. Another one is a cup of coffee. There's lots of coffee in here. A coffee with like a cute striped straw. So maybe you make your coffee tomorrow and instead of just drinking it out of like, this made me think of, instead of drinking it out of like an ugly cup, you like put a cute straw in it and make it in a cute glass. Savon Ayla, who I follow, she says her husband eats his food like he's in prison. Like he'll just like take like if you eat like a hard boiled egg, he'll just like peel it and take a bite out of it and like not even use a plate, or he'll just put his sandwich on a napkin. And like she's the opposite. She's like all about aesthetics. She'll make her like slice her hard boiled egg and like sprinkle it with flaky salt and put it on a pretty plate with tomatoes. And she's like, I eat like I'm at a 5-star resort. My husband eats like he's in prison. And the look of the food. And that's how like almost you could think about your stories. Like don't take the picture as if it's a prison cell. Like take the picture as if it's like a 5-star resort.
And again, the whole point of saying any of those things is to incorporate your personality. So think about those things like when you are really clear on your brand menu, which again, we go into a lot in the membership, but like we've done a lot of episodes on that as well. You can get some clarity with that. Okay, so next is local. Now, local, again, I do feel like a lot of agents share local content, but it's all very Googleable.
Googleable.
It's Googleable, and not from their perspective. So how can people really leverage local and like make it from that behind the scenes glass?
Well, one of my rules in my own business is I don't teach anything you can Google. So how do I post on Instagram? Like you can Google that and you'll see a great tutorial on YouTube somewhere. Like someone teaches it somewhere, but I don't need to put it inside of my membership because I want it to be like our signature stuff in there, not Googleable stuff. So same with you. Like what information can someone only get from you and your Instagram account or your Facebook account because it's your perspective. So when you think about local, I don't want you to think about, okay, I need to share every single thing in our town, every single activity, every place you could go, every restaurant. I want you to share the places you go and the places you attend or the events you attend and what your kids love and what you and your spouse love to do for date night. Like it doesn't need to be everything. It needs to be like here's an example. As a Lake Country real estate agent, these are mine and my husband's go-to date night spots.
Yeah.
That would be an example of the content cocktail in use.
And if someone already likes you, likes your style, likes your vibe, then they're like, well, where does she go? Like, I want to know where she goes. I want to go there too.
And the other thought about this is shareable content. So when you make it more about like things that you actually do, or if maybe you go to this library reading thing every Wednesday with your kids, that's going to connect you with and help and relate to other people with little kids that live in your area who might want to go to that activity. Or our library just had like a bluey scavenger hunt and someone sent it to me. And I thought of that. I was like, this is something that, not that it doesn't need to be a post. Could it be a post? Potentially. If mom life is a big part of your brand, maybe you do like, come with us to see the bluey scavenger hunt at the Oconomowoc Library, blah, blah, blah. And then you share like, here's where we always go, before I head to the office on Wednesdays, or, something like that. You're like tying it all together. You're going to naturally then have conversations, or that will get shared with other local moms who are in that same phase of life as you, that probably is also your ideal client in most cases. Again, I don't want to get into ideal client today super deep, but when we think of personality and then who we're trying to connect with, and then we think of local and who we're trying to connect with, it's all kind of in the same bucket, to be honest, because we want to think of like, well, how do I attract like the people I want to work with? Well, a lot of times those people, you do share common interests or you do have similar values.
Yeah.
So naturally, as you share and document your life and share what you're doing in the places you love to go and the things you love about your community, it's going to automatically bring in those people that feel that same way. And those probably are your best fit people to work with because you're going to jive. Like you're going to have that similar, I feel like I can trust you vibe, both of you, to each other. So that's where local can get really, really, I feel like I say this word all the time, but powerful. Like, like the coolest part about this formula is there's no big, deep, crazy strategy to it. It's literally like, okay, tell me about your day and your life, and we're gonna pull that into your social media.
Yeah. 100%. You know, another hook that we did that I like love, which is the perfect way to blend your personality with like local content. But the hook was, if you love and then insert these things, then you'll love it here. So like, for example, for myself, I would say something like, if you love Friday nights cheering on your favorite team and long walks with running into your neighbors and you know, walking into the local Walmart and seeing your kid's teacher, like I would like mention some of those things, plus like, you know, local, like walking into your local florist shop or flower shop. Or I don't know, just like those like fun little things, or like even like huge 4th of July celebrations. Like I would mention the things about my town that we love, that we're a part of, and like all of those things totally reflect who I am. An amazing library, right? I talk about our library all the time. But someone else, like our town is actually a huge 4-H town. It's just not what we do. So other agents in my same town would use that same hook, but they would be like, if you love waking up bright and early and watching the sunrise as you're feeding your horses and doing, like, they would have a totally different take on it, and they would attract a totally different audience than I would, even though we're literally talking about the same place.
This is why when you have a marketing plan, or like, this is a perfect example of what Modern Agent is, and I'm not trying to like get you to join or anything. I just want to paint this picture. People will ask like, well, what if someone else in my market is in the membership? When we teach you how to do it this way, where it's your angle, it's your personality, it's even your take on the community you live in, it will never matter who else is in your community, because it's impossible to have the same content.
Yeah.
It's impossible to have the same content when you're using this formula. So I want to give an example, another example, kind of like what you just said. It's in our April content, and I just love it so much because so we've been doing a lot of posts like this on our own Instagram to give you a little like behind the scenes experiment style, what is working. And we're creating this content that speaks really clearly to the people that are like, they're going to love our vibe. They're going to love this podcast. They're going to love the way we market. They're going to love this style of marketing. And we did one like this for our members with a local spin. So it says, I'm a city named local. And here's some examples. Of course, I sit in the same spot during the Spring Fling Parade every year. So if you're like, I don't have a Spring Fling Parade, then replace it with something else. Like maybe for you, it's like the 4th of July firework, blah, blah, blah show, or whatever. The other one is like, I'm a city named local. Of course, I worked at the Dairy Suite in high school. I'm a city named local. Of course, I remember watching Twister at Clark's Drive-In. So like, there's all these little local spins that you can replace with whatever makes sense for your town and the things that you love to do, or where you worked, or what your kids are part of, or even like today. Yeah. So you take that local content with that personal spin, and that content is shareable, because how can you not help but send that to someone? Again, it's giving you so much more opportunity to connect and to get in front of people than like a post saying like, this month's local events.
You know what's so funny? When I was creating that post, so we moved to our town from out of, like, Brett and I are both from different places, but literally like all of our best friends here are all high school sweethearts, and they all like grew up together. And so they talk about so many things that Brett and I are like, you guys are weird. But the one thing that they all share, which is funny, they're like, most of them are like in their like young 40s, but they'll talk about how when they were in high school, they would go cruising on the brownie route, is what they called it. But like literally, it was basically this is so funny. They all drove their cars to the local Tractor Supply, and then there was like a route, there's like a big block that you would drive around, and basically you would drive around and look for your friends, right? Because we didn't have cell phones and stuff in high school quite yet. So as I was making that post, I thought to myself, if I said I'm a Columbia City local, of course I went cruising on the brownie route. Every one of my friends, none of them share on Instagram ever. Like, I'm the only one of ours that actually like uses social media. Every one of them would share that post. Every single one of them, because it's so relatable and so specific that it like totally speaks to them. And that's what's so cool about that post. Like, if you can think about those things, even if you're not actually local to the community that you serve, but if you are aware of those things and having conversations about those things, you know, those kind of things would like blow up. And what's so cool about that? Yes, most people that are going to follow you from that aren't looking to buy or sell, but they're going to be like, this girl gets what it's like here. And they're going to like love your content and want to consume more. It's
so going to the
powerful.
No Fluff broker, speaking back to her or him, when that person sees that because their friend shares it and they're like, oh my gosh, it's hilarious. Like, I totally relate to this.
Yeah.
and then they go click on your profile. If they were to see no fluff broker, just listed, just sold, here's how to hire me, here's how to buy a house, here's how to sell a house, and that person who laughed at the local piece of content came and saw that, they would probably like, okay, that was a funny post, but like goodbye to the rest. I don't need to follow that because I'm not buying or selling and I don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
Anyone can sell real estate, but no one can do it the way you do it, and no one's going to have your personality. So if we can leverage those two things in our content, that's where that person's going to click follow. That's where that person's going to be like, I like her vibe. I like his vibe. I want more of this. I want to see more of their favorite local spots, or I want to see more of like their nostalgic memories about living in this community. Like, that's why we need to make sure our content has these ingredients, because that's how you're going to get people to follow you, how you're going to get people to care, because they're going to need to care about you, like we said, way before they think about buying or selling.
Yeah.
And maybe it happens in a week. Maybe they find you from that post. I mean, like, oh my gosh, we are getting so many followers right now from our similar vibe, but in a marketing way, posts like that. And people are joining the membership, which is totally different than buying a house. But
well, yeah, but it is the same thing. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, like that totally speaks to me. That's exactly it. And then they look at our account and they're like, this is exactly my like style. You know what I mean? And so a lot of them have been like joining right away. You know, another hook that really like hits all of these things, because this is the other thing. Like, keep in mind, not every post needs to have every single one of these ingredients in it. I would aim for 2 every time. If you can have 3, great. Sometimes you can get all 4. This one right here, or 4 as far as like the actual glass being like the behind the scenes perspective. But this hook, how I spend my nights as an off-duty city name real estate agent. So you're hitting, that's behind the scenes right there, because everyone's like, what is she doing? You are talking about your local community, which, by the way, you can tie in local just by adding in city name or in area name to every single post, and you're golden there. You're reminding them that you're a real estate agent, and no one's spending their nights the same way that you are. So like how I'm spending my nights, I'm like taking my kids to cheer practice or going to a football game or reading books on the couch with my kids. Like, that's how we spend our time. That's probably different than what you're doing. You know what I mean? And so like, what an easy way, and I'm going to repeat it so that people can actually write it down, but how I spend my nights as an off-duty city name real estate agent. And you've just hit every single one of your things. And what's cool about that can honestly be like a repeatable series. You can do that every other week, and you're going to be probably doing something different, but like some of those things are going to be similar, or like the look of things or like the theme of things are going to be similar, and like you're going to be recognizable. It's going to like make your brand have more depth. You're going to be more magnetic, all the things.
Let's talk about the execution of that post. So let's say you're like, I love that, I'm going to do it today. You don't even have to first thing that might stop someone is like, I have to create a lot of like videos to create that. All you could do for that is, let's say like one of the things in your nightly routine is taking a bath, or it's, maybe you don't want to take a picture of yourself in the bath. Maybe it's
maybe you do.
Maybe it's having a glass of wine. And so you take a picture of yourself with your glass of wine. That's it. And that's your carousel post. But you use that same photo, you put text right from your Instagram app on top of it, and you list out like the 5 to 6 to 7 things that you do in the night. Yeah. So I always watch an episode of Friends. I always drink a glass of Aveline Red Blend. I always read books with my son. I always watch an episode of Southern Charm. It could go whatever. Again, you're not creating, you're just telling people what you're doing. Yeah. So there's no need to like figure anything out even, like we could all let's make it a goal. Let's all create this post today in our own way.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a picture of you. It's going to be your text on top of it of like the things that are different for you. And here's where you spin the real estate in. Not only was it in the hook, but one of the things you do is it could be like, I check my email one more time at 7 p.m. to make sure there's nothing blah, 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 like left unfinished.
Yeah.
And that's your real estate. Or like, I check MLS one more time before bed, or I check on my listing ad to see how many views the house got or whatever.
The other thing that you can do as you're doing this, like, okay, I'm thinking of like the glass of wine. Take a picture of you with a glass of wine, then set the glass of wine down, go change your outfit, go take another one. Like, or put your glass of wine somewhere else, or change the scene, or hold it up, or something like that. Take 5 different pictures of it, And then guess what? You have that kind of photo for the next 5 posts that you do like this. And you can do it all in less than 10 minutes. So if you do that, you can almost do that with every single one. Or the other thing that you can do is you probably already have B-roll or pictures of things like this already. So like I honestly could probably make this post right now just by going back in my own camera roll and finding like, yeah, I do this or I do this, and I could kind of mix and match, and it would probably look very cohesive, even though none of those things all happened in the same night.
That's a really good tip. I love the I need to get better, honestly, at if I'm gonna do one, let's do 5.
Yeah. Yeah, why not? If you know, like, okay, for the next month, I want to share this post at least twice, then at least take double the amount of photos and videos wherever when you're working on it that one night, just batch create it. And then honestly, if you want to get real good, create both reels or both carousels on the same night, and then just save one to your drafts or save one in Canva and post it later.
I love that.
You're done, baby.
It's so doable. It's so doable. And again, when it comes to trying something like this, I would almost say, like, don't just do it once. Do it, like, commit to doing it 4 weeks in a row, because a lot of times with things like this, you're not going to see the traction on the first time you try it, right? Mm-hmm. But when you start to do it repetitively, it's almost like this, again, me and my loving of series, people come to expect it. They're like, oh, I wonder what she's going to share this time, or I wonder what's in this one. Or it's kind of how you can't help but when you get an email of someone's like favorite products, you have to scroll through all of them, because you're like, I need to see what they all are. I need to know what you're using or what you're loving right now and all those things. So
can I share a quick little story to kind of wrap this up, because I feel like this all kind of ties in. So I saw, a couple years ago, I saw these 2 comedians, these girls, they were hilarious. So I just recently saw that they had a tour scheduled, and then they canceled it. And their post canceling it was basically just saying, like, really, by the time that we sell the tickets, but then pay for our lodging, pay for our travel, all of that, like, we're really not making anything, if so we're in the hole. But they kept going back to, we just refuse to increase our prices. Now, Chelsea, they were charging, I think, like $30 for a ticket. I'm going to see Nate Bargatze in May, and we just paid like $200 a ticket. Now, he's bigger than what they are, but still, I thought I would pay $60 to see them. 100%. They were hilarious. But, like, they refused to see their own worth, so they refused to, like, do the work to get there. And you know what happened? They had to cancel the show altogether, and then no one saw their stuff. Like, no one gets to hear them at all. And, like, they don't get to do what they love. So, like I bring this up because I want to, first of all, just, like, shake them and be like, charge $60, charge $75. Like, people would pay it. But also, just to remind agents that are listening right now, like, you have to choose to see your worth. Like, you have to decide that your brand is interesting, that you are interesting, that you have something unique to offer. Because if you don't first see that, everything that we're telling you today is going to fall flat, because you're still going to think, like, no one really cares what I'm eating for breakfast, or no one really cares how I spend my evenings. Like, the truth is, we do. You have people who are ready and willing to hire you, to pay you money, to take your advice. They just don't know that you exist yet, because you haven't stood up and said, I'm worthy of a brand, and I'm worthy of this business, and I'm worthy of, like, taking a little extra time to put these pieces into place of my content so that I stay top of mind. And all of those things, like, yes, like, you're worthy to stand up and be like, you know what, broker, like, I understand where you're going from, but can you trust me with this? Like, I know what I'm doing, or I've got guidance on this, you know? So, like, don't sell yourself short. Like, all of this only works if you decide that today is the day that you are going to pour into yourself and invest in yourself. So, like, you are completely worth that. And you have people who would love to hear what you have to say, who would love to work with you. And they're already in your community. They're probably already watching your content. You're just not staying top of mind because you haven't taken the time to do these things. So that's my soapbox for today.
That's a good soapbox. I feel sad for those comedian girls, and I hope that they hear something like this that kind of changes their direction.
I know. Neither of them are real estate agents, so I doubt they're listening.
Probably not.
It's
Never
a shame.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's so true. And honestly, it's it is like a hard shift to make, because it feels like it's not about the business, but it's like the best thing you could possibly do for your business. Because if you want more people to care about your business, you need to treat it like it's a more personal thing, because you need to have that personal edge, that personal approach if you want people to care. And this formula does it in such a great way, because it doesn't make it like where you feel like an influencer sharing, here's the 5 things I love on Amazon. And if you do decide to do that, that is completely fine too. We want it to be the mix. You want the mix of all 3 ingredients. And I have one more, and it's just a garnish. It doesn't need to be a full ingredient, but the garnish is really just a call to action. So like, what do you want them to do next from this post? It could be, here's a few different ideas. It could be an intro that you share at the beginning of every reel. There's a sommelier named she's the No Snob Sam. Like,
Love it.
I'm glad I got that out.
Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, No Snob Sam, and she always starts her reels saying that. So you like, it's like ingrained in your head, and so that garnish could be that. It could be your little reel intro. It could be, because she's basically saying that as to like, why would you follow me, right? Like, I'm an approachable sommelier. I'm going to tell you the best wines to drink, but I'm not going to be stuffy and like snooty about it. So that's like sharing that in a very condensed, quick, easy to hear way. So it could be something along those lines. It could be at the end of a reel, or at the end of a carousel, at the end of a caption, like, I'm your name, follow me for all things blank, blank, and blank. And it could be something personal, something local, something real estate. There's your perfect opportunity to pour the ingredients together and put that extra splash on your content. And that just helps. Like, when someone random does get your post, someone shares that local carousel, they're like, who is this? And it's like a quick, like, here's who they are. Like, bam. It almost like that alone can help you get more follows than the actual like piece of content in and of itself. Cause they're like, okay, I do want more of this. Or maybe they don't. And that's okay too.
Yep. And I would keep it brief. I would never start a video by being like, hi, my name is Kayla and I work for Modern Agent Social Club and I actually do this here. And I just wanted to tell you today, like, if you record that on your video, when you go to like post it on Reels, just cut that part out and then say like, have you ever wondered why your offer is not getting accepted? Here's what you need to know. And then be like, I'm Kayla and I'm your city name, whatever. And then go straight into it. Like, start with the hook that gives them a reason to watch the video, but then go into the actual like introduction. I feel like we could do a whole episode on Reels. That I actually wrote that down. Like, do episode on this topic.
No, that's the best. That's another formula within your formula. Start with your hook and then add the mini intro. But that's your little extra garnish.
Yeah. And the call to action. I mean, of course, you want to tell them where to go to sign up for things or how to do this or whatever at the end. I would remind agents, you don't have to do that with every single post. I wouldn't do it with every single post because it can make everything that you do feel a lot more salesy than what you're trying to do. But remind people like that you do have resources available for them. I think posting in stories like that is a great way to like stay top of mind there. But I would aim for at least like every other piece of content, every 2 or 3 pieces of content, to include that call to action that says like, comment this for this, or DM me if you want to know more, or whatever. But I think that's pretty much the Modern Agent content cocktail.
That's a content cocktail. Do we want to give them like one piece of homework that they can implement?
Yeah.
Let's pick one that we could give them.
Honestly, they could do the How I Spend My Nights one that we talked
Well,
about.
that is a good homework assignment.
Because it's still real estate, and you can go heavier into it if you wanted to, but it's also, I think it's an easy first step. So How I Spend My Nights as an off-duty city name realtor. You can also change that. You can say How I Spend My Weekends as a, realtor / mom of teens that are going to sports or whatever. You can say it in a couple different ways. Or you can kind of find your own way to say it and then say it on repeat all the time. But that, again, the reason that this works is because it's behind the scenes. It has your local city mentioned. It reminds people that you're a realtor, and it's allowing you to showcase your personality and to showcase your brand and like what you like to do. I would love to see everyone. And you can make that a reel. You can make it carousel. You could turn that into a section on your email list. You could do so many things with that.
Yes, and like we're saying, you can go heavier real estate, heavier personal, but when you have all the ingredients, it doesn't matter so much. It's more about the fact that anytime you're creating content, there's going to be this like little sprinkle of real estate or little sprinkle of personal, little sprinkle of local. So not only, to be honest with you, does that help you just from the perspective of more people wanting to follow you, more people wanting to consume your content, making your content more fun, it also is strategic with the algorithm, because when you have a post about, maybe it's about buying and selling at the same time, maybe it's about your favorite local place, blah, blah, blah. You're using that local keyword is going to show your content to people who live there. Like that is strategic. Using real estate, it's going to it's just going to bring it all together in a strategic way for the algorithm, in addition to it working just from a, consumption standpoint. So remember that too.
I totally agree. That's your homework. Chelsea, another great episode of the podcast.
This was so fun.
So fun.
Thank you for listening, everyone. We will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
I'm so glad we got to hang out today. If you're as sad as I am that our time is up, I've got good news. There are a couple of different ways we can keep the conversation going.
First, follow us on Instagram at Modern Agent Marketing Girls and introduce yourself in the DMs. Also, we always have a free Modern Agent resource available, so check out today's show notes for the goods.
And finally, hang out with other go-to real estate girls like you and finally create a marketing plan that works when you join Modern Agent Social Club. All the details are in today's notes.
XOXO, the Marketing Girls.